Okay, so we just got a bunch of One Punch Man news from finally getting the reveal to who's directing the actual season and even a release date, among other things. All of this information is pretty fresh from the time of this recording, like literally 2 hours ago, I think. So I'm going to briefly cover everything that we know right now and just try to, I guess, dissect exactly what it is that we're getting because, again, we do get some kind of like promotional trailer as well. There is some animation there, but not a ton. So yeah, there might be some more news to come later on this week. So, best believe I'm going to cover it here, but I'm going to try to cover as much of what's been put out there as much as I can in this video. So to kick off, probably the first thing that you looked at as soon as you open this video is the reveal of the staff for One Punch Man season 3, specifically the director. We finally have a director to the season. It's his name is Shinpei Nagai. I'm sorry if I pronounced that name wrong, but there you go. That's finally a director name that you can tie to this series after like so many months and years of not knowing who the director is going to be. We finally get him like a month before the release of the anime, and there isn't a specific date for the anime release as well, but we'll get to that in a second. But first thing I want to say, I guess, is like, I looked very briefly into his like catalog of anime that he's worked on. I'm sure you're probably gonna see a ton of people talking about this in anger on Reddit or all over the internet about when people are discussing One Punch Man stuff. But they're gonna all be pointing out that this director is known for doing like romance projects. Some people say hentai. I can't confirm or deny that because again, I didn't look too deeply into his catalog, but definitely not anything that jumped off the page to me as like an action series. So to my knowledge, this might be his first, role as a director with an action series. And on top of that, it doesn't seem like he has much experience at all when it comes to directing. So that might be something that might be concerning for some of you guys. But what's really kind of interesting, and I think is like something that we should at least give some kind of like understanding and acceptance to, is kind of like the position this guy's in, and kind of something that kind of gave me some confidence in that, this director actually like really cares about this project and isn't just somebody that got hired by JC staff to get a paycheck and just put his name on a major anime and, build his resume or something. Like he actually cares about how well this season's going to do, because we actually got like some kind of announcement from him, kind of I guess putting himself out there now that the director is available to the public. It's kind of his like introductory tweet, I guess you could say, as the director of the season. So as you see right here, this is a tweet, a pretty long one that he made, kind of again announcing himself as the director to the season. I'm gonna kind of just read it verbatim. It's gonna take a second, but I think this is very important information. So I'm willing to sit through it. He says, "Hello everyone, nice to meet you. I'm Shinpei Nagai, the director of One Punch Man Season 3. I completely understand everyone's reactions. Please calm down and hear me out if you would. I'll explain why I was chosen, and it might be a bit long, but please listen. I've been a freelancer from the beginning, and that hasn't changed. At 37, I wrapped up my apprenticeship and stepped into the anime world with a work called Hiro no Kakera. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, but I learned how to create hybrid animation with 3D in a project called Aquarion Logos. And after that, I switched to a 3D company for just 1 year, contributing to image boards for Altered Carbon and such, which I think is pretty interesting actually. But anyway, my goal was always Manglobe. I honed my skills on episode 6 of Gangsta and Samurai Flamenco, among others. I was aiming for a hybrid of 3D CG and hand-drawn animation, but as everyone knows, Manglobe ended up closing down. In the midst of that, JC Staff became a long-term partner, commissioning me for storyboards and direction throughout the year. However, since I'm relatively unknown and don't have standout achievements as an animator, and this is the important part I want you guys to pay attention to, I thought it might give bad impressions, so I asked them to keep it under wraps. Then, when the consultation for One Punch Man Season 3 came up, I focused on incorporating a new workflow, something I discussed in CG World. Bridging 3D and 2D workflows to squeeze out even one more second of production time. I sincerely apologize for keeping quiet about this. The team is giving it our all on site. I can't discuss details about the production, but I'm open to answering what I can within my limits. So I know a whole lot of things to unpack there. A lot of it's just kind of like a personal journey thing, but I think like the very important stuff from what he said is at the very bottom of this tweet. The first thing is that we finally get like a solidified reason as to like why we didn't get any type of director name or director announcement for so long until now. Like, he understands, and this is why I kind of appreciate about this guy, his honesty. He knows that he's a pretty unknown guy by, most standards when it comes to like big name anime, right? So like he knew that there would be some kind of backlash, some type of, pretty heavy negative backlash, learning that some director that's never really worked on action anime is being selected for such like a valuable IP. And obviously what he's saying is true. Like it doesn't give a good impression of like the quality of the season if we now know that the director, the guy kind of like spearheading everything, is going to be, relatively inexperienced. But what I appreciate is that like he understands how important, like how much people care about this, and like how it, I guess, involved and enveloped in every bit of news and everything that is One Punch Man to a lot of fans out there, including myself. So for the reason why I see this as a positive thing, because of course you would see it as a negative as having some kind of inexperienced director, and kind of like the fear of the pushback being the reason why they haven't really released any news on him. That sounds initially like a bad thing, but personally, him understanding how big of a deal this is going to go a long way when it comes to like the actual effort of making this look good and understanding that like what people want to see, because I feel like a lot of the times people don't have this kind of like insight into, how seriously a director of an anime season can take his, his role. And of course, they're all taking it seriously. They all want to do a good job and not look bad. But it's really encouraging to me to see that like he actually cares about what people think about this project and like what expectations people are going to have. To put it simply, the more you care, the more effort you're going to be putting into something, right? But on top of that, another thing that I thought was very interesting that he was talking about was bridging, like, or using a combination of 3D and 2D workflows. Meaning, I don't know how much we all kind of assumed there was going to be some kind of like CG and 3D animation for the season, because like a lot of these fights are insane, and to do like 2D hand drawn animations of all of them would take way too long. So it's not a major surprise that they're going to be using 3D, a combination of 3D and 2D animations. But the thing that I think is also very encouraging is that it seems like it's something that he's been very like dedicated towards and involved with for some time now. Kind of just like integrating these three animations, or these two different animation styles to create his works. Again, it's a risk. Like I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and say this is like the optimal situation where we're getting a relatively unknown director that, is really just banking on like innovation, forward thinking to get this done, because there's a lot of risk involved in that. I would have felt way better about a bigger known director, an established name, for me to feel safe that this is going to be in good hands. But again, overall, I like this message from him. It seems like he just genuinely cares about making this the best season possible. And he's dedicated to using every resource available to making that happen. Now, again, I kind of briefly covered that there's a new promotional video. The reason I didn't lead off with that is because, honestly, as you can kind of see right here, I don't want to show too much of it because I don't want to get hit with like copyright stuff or whatever. But it's very brief. It's like 15 seconds, and like it doesn't show a ton of movement. Like there is movement in the scenes, and like they look relatively good. I don't really have like any major complaints about them. Like there's not really much to say about them. There's not much action happening in them. It's just people talking. That looks pretty solid, but it's only like 15 seconds long. I assume there's going to be a longer version, like 30 seconds, or probably about 30 seconds, some at the end of the week or sometime later this month, as we start to like really ramp up for the unveiling of the season, which is coming very soon, a lot sooner than I thought, to be honest. Well, not a lot sooner, but pretty soon. You can make what you will about the promotional video. They also did a bunch of releases for the full body versions of like the key visual or the character visuals they've been releasing every single month. So, not something that I'm super interested in. I could have already imagined like what they look like their bottom half. But, for those of you guys that are interested, that's all information that's out there now. So right here, like, I don't know, I haven't been able to verify where this account is getting this specific key, this point of information from. It's just something I want to bring up to you guys in case it ends up being actually like fully accurate. Again, take this one with a major grain of salt, because I have not personally found anything to confirm this. So this is me just sharing the information that I've personally found. So it says that episode 1 drops in 33 days. The actual release date, which I think it is confirmed, is October 5th. So we're going to be getting the first episode of season 3 in from the time of this recording, just over a month, which is super exciting. It's surreal to finally just be getting a confirmation of a date. Just getting that, I was honestly very happy. But also we got this information that One Punch Man at this point is 64% complete, which again, haven't been able to confirm this part of it, but like I personally don't know how I feel about this one in specific, because 64% complete, a month away from the season release, that's not really information I want to hear. I would rather it be like almost fully done. I mean, to be fair, like a lot of anime nowadays, especially with like people talk all the time about how grueling the anime industry really is. Like a lot of these anime really are like nowadays getting released before even being fully completed. So I wouldn't say this is like an uncommon thing, and not something that would raise like major red flags. So like don't take too much of this, especially since it's not confirmed information, at least from what I can find. But another thing we got along with like the actual air date of the season is another promotional poster, a key visual. I mean, not really much you can say here. It's literally like the monster visuals put together combined with the hero visuals. In my opinion, pretty lazy. Like they could have came up with something like different at least. Like, come on, you know what I mean? But whatever, you know what I mean? I don't want to spend too much time on this. It is what it is. Now, a thing I've already been seeing like all over the One Punch Man subreddit and just being talked about online is just like all the negativity with this stuff. Like, look, I'm not going to sugarcoat any of it with you guys. Like, out of all the news that was revealed today, I just feel like I don't feel more optimistic about the season, but I honestly don't feel more pessimistic about it either. Like, I don't know. I'm kind of in a weird spot myself where it's like, sure, the director reveal maybe isn't like the best case scenario for me, but at least right now, like optically, it looks pretty solid. Other than that, like the key visual was very mediocre. Like the promotional video, there's not really much you can take away from it, which, I mean, minus like some key shots of like Garo and Genos and stuff like that look pretty solid. Like, just things that I think I'm relatively happy about, but of course, like many of you, I'm definitely left wanting a lot more than what we've been given so far still. But this is a pretty big month for One Punch Man, like, deliverables, I guess. So we're probably gonna be getting a lot more than we've been getting in recent months. Like, this seems like they're finally starting to kind of like kick things into gear, which is better late than never, I guess. I'll take what I can get at this point. But, I've also been seeing like, and again, like, always when you see a lot of this stuff online, like just take it with a big grain of salt. A lot of it is just people piecing together stuff to like build some kind of narrative, like negatively. You know what I mean? People just love to be negative for no reason sometimes. Sure, there's plenty of reasons to be negative about the season. Like, don't get me wrong, but like there's no use in just trying to like amp up that energy within the community, because I mean we're all feeling it. Like we're all frustrated to some extent, but like there's no use in just like spreading that and promoting it as much as possible, before the season even comes out. So also, of course, bashing on him for like the hentai affiliations, which again I can't really confirm or deny because I didn't look into it myself. But just keep a level head. Like, we're getting more information maybe this week, but definitely this month. So like, let's just try to build a full picture before we start having any big reactions. Like, once we get a full trailer and it looks absolutely garbage, then like, I mean, there's not really much to say at that point. But until then, let's just calm down. You know what I mean? That's definitely something I'm saying to myself, because I definitely am with you guys that I feel very strongly about this, and I want to react in a very like emotional way to like every bit of One Punch Man news. But again, we gotta calm down a little bit. But that's pretty much everything I could find in terms of like information for the season. I'm sure there might be something that like I might have missed that some of you guys can fill us in the comments below. I appreciate everyone that like comments and makes us all a little bit smarter with like information and kind of like maybe even some corrections if I've said something wrong in the video. Feel free, of course, in the comments below. But I'll definitely be making some more content revolving any new news that comes out when it comes to One Punch Man season 3, like anything that comes out. So make sure to subscribe to be up to date with that stuff. But that is it for this one. Have an absolutely wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, whatever, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.